Hi guys, we're going to talk about how to graph lines using a function table. So there's a few different ways to graph lines. Today we're going to go over a function table. So we have the equation y equals negative 2x plus 3, which I know is going to graph a line. And we're going to set up a function table by writing x as my first column, my function rule next, y equals negative 2x plus 3, y as your next column, and then the last column for our order pair is xy. So you can pick any values that you want for x, okay? And technically it only takes 2 points to make a line, but I like to pick more values than that. I also like to pick a negative value, a positive value, and 0. And you don't have to do this by any means, but if you do that, it'll help you see the span of the line across the graph a little bit better, okay? So again, you can pick any values you want. I'm gonna go ahead and pick 3, negative 2, 0, and 3. All right, those are gonna be the ones that I'm picking. Doesn't matter. So you're going to take the x value that you pick and we're going to substitute it in for x, right? So I know that this is my function rule. This rule is telling me that if I take whatever x is and I multiply it by negative 2 and then I add 3 to it, I'm going to get what y is. That's what that rule says, okay? So wherever we saw an x, because I randomly chose negative 2 to be my x, I'm just going to substitute x with negative 2. So that's what my open parentheses are for here that are blank. I'm filling those in with a negative 2. Okay, why? Just because I randomly picked negative 2 to be my first x value. It could have been anything. And now we're going to do the math. So multiplication comes first, right? So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. I still have my plus 3. And then I add 4 plus 3 and I get 7. And I know that when negative 2 is my x value, 7 is the output. 7 becomes the y value. Now, if these calculations are easy for you and you could do them in your head, you don't have to write all this and you can do it in your head, but I'm writing it out so that people see my process, okay? And so what does that mean? For clarity, in the last column, I just want to write down that I know that that means negative 2, 7 is going to be one of the infinitely many ordered pairs that are on this line, okay? Negative 2, 7 makes this equation true. When you substitute it in, it makes it true. So now we're going to go ahead to our next value. I picked 0. Why? I just like seeing what the y-intercept is. So if we now follow the same process, let's substitute x with 0. So y is going to be equal to negative 2 times 0 plus 3. Well, anything times 0 is 0. And then 0 plus 3 is 3. Telling us that when the x value is 0, the y value is 3. So there's a second order pair on this line. So now again, it only takes 2 points to make a line. So I could technically graph these and be done. I'm just going to go with one more. So let's take the positive x value of 3 and let's keep going, substitute. So y equals negative 2 times 3 plus 3. A negative times a positive is a negative, so that's negative 6 plus 3. And negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Telling me that 3, negative 3, right, I'm getting those values from here, is a third point on this line, right? So now I already have 3 points on this line, and I can go ahead and plot all of those now. So I'm going to plot negative 2, 7 to start with. So if you need help with plotting, right, goes x, y. So x is my x value, sorry, is negative 2. So from the origin, my negative values are to the left. So I'm going to negative 2 and then up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's negative 2, 7. 0, 3 is on the y-axis. There's 0, 3, and 3, negative 3. Okay, and now you just use a ruler, some type of straight edge to connect these. And I wish I had a longer ruler, so mine's going to be a little bit off, sorry. But this is what the equation of the line y equals negative 2x plus 3 will look like, all right? Important to know, a quick check for yourself is that slope is negative, so make sure that line's going downwards, right? Negative slope means the line is decreasing. So if I had gotten a line that was going up, that's a clue to myself that I've done something wrong, okay? All right, let's try another one. Let's try y equals 1/3 x plus 4. So now, you have to be a little bit able to look into the future here. We're going to multiply whatever our x value is by 1/3. Multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3, right? Multiplying by 1/3 is the same thing as dividing by 3. So think about that. If you divide a number like 2 by 3, you're going to get a proper fraction, right? And we don't really want to plot fractions. We want nice integer coordinates for our points. So how can you avoid that? think before I say it, maybe you can figure out yourself, what kind of numbers could I purposefully substitute in for x so that I avoid getting fraction coordinates? Or at least I avoid a fraction here, and then I know if I add it to a whole number, obviously I'll still get a whole number. So if you said multiples of 3, you're correct. So I'm going to purposefully pick multiples of 3. So that's kind of your shortcut. If you have a fraction as your coefficient for x, just pick numbers that are multiples of the denominator. That way this value won't be a fraction, okay? So let's pick, again, a negative, a positive, and a 0 would be nice. So a negative multiple of 3, I'm going to pick -6. Let's start with that, all right? And now let's follow the same process as before. We're going to substitute. So y equals 1/3 times -6 plus 4. 1/3 times -6 is -2. And then -2 plus 4 is 2. Now, if you need help with the multiplying fractions piece, that'll have to be a different video because I don't want to slow us down for that, okay? But 2 is the y value that's going to correspond to -6 as my x value, meaning -6, 2 is one of the ordered pairs that's going to lie on this line because these two values make this equation true. Let's go with that easy 0. So if 0 was my x value, then y equals 1/3 times 0 plus 4. Well, anything times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 4 is 4. So 0, 4 must be a point on this line. And this actually should have been easy to see because this equation is in y equals mx plus b form, and b is my y-intercepts. So 0, 4 had to be on that line, okay? And lastly, let's go with a positive number, but again, let's try to make it a multiple of 3 so I can try to avoid fractions. So a nice easy multiple of 3 is 3, right? So let's do that. So y equals 1/3 times 3 plus 4. 1/3 of 3 is 1, and 1 plus 4 is 5, telling me that 3, 5 must also be a point on this line, okay? And if you go back to your graph, we can do the same thing that we did before. Let me just use a different color. So we can go to -6, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. We can go to 0, 4. And we can go to 3, 5. And grab your straight edge and connect. And these points should connect to make a nice line. And they do. Okay, and I also notice that this line is increasing, which makes sense because my slope was a positive number. So if your slope is positive, your line should be increasing. So this black line is the graph of y equals 1/3 x plus 4. All right. This is only one way to graph using a function table. There are other ways to graph, so please check out my other videos if you want to see the other ways and become more familiar. Okay, good luck with graphing.